All right. The secret of Vril. Marshall claims that there's a secret that has been kept by members of the Illuminati for more than 70 years. Secret of such great importance as to affect the lives of every man, woman, and child on the face of the planet. Marshall states that his mission in life is to share the secret with the world so that all can know the truth and plan for the future. In order to fully understand this secret, it'll be necessary to return to the events of post-war Germany. Following the end of World War I, where in 1923 Hitler was named the leader of the new Nazi Party. Following a failed attempt to overthrow the federal government, Hitler was arrested for treason. While awaiting trial in Landsberg prison, he read Bulwer Lytton's 1871 novel Vril, The Power of the Coming Race, about a master race of beings who call themselves the Vrilia. They claim to be the descendants of inhabitants of ancient Atlantis, with access to extraordinary force called Vril, an unlimited source of energy that supplies all their needs and that can be controlled at will. Hitler believed the novel to be true, and once made Chancellor of Germany, he would send teams of spelunkers into caves and mines all over Europe searching for the Vrilia. He dispatched regular expeditions to Asia, especially Tibet.
Vrilia? Hey, dude, guess what? Vrilia is hollow earth.
Where Nazi explorers made significant connections with influential Tibetan lamas who had expert knowledge about the underground tunnel and cavern systems about the world. Legend was these Tibetan lamas guarded a secret entrance to the inner world known as the Red Door, hidden within the Patala Palace in the mountain city of Lhasa once a Nazi-Tibetan alliance was formed. The lamas agreed to share with them that for centuries they had been helping to hide an indigenous race of lizards living deep within the planet since prehistoric times known as the Vril lizards. The lizards had no where was I? They had been hiding an indigenous race of living deep within the planet since prehistoric times known as the Vril lizards. It seems that these lizards knew the location of an abandoned military base dating back from the time of Atlantis, filled with ancient aircraft weaponry and technology hidden within the tunnels and caverns of Antarctica. The lizards had no use for the tech, but they were willing to trade for something else they wanted. The lizards were carnivorous and preferred to consume fresh human flesh, and so a deal was made. The Nazis got the ancient Atlantean tech and sold out the human race. But according to Marshall, this was not the first time the real lizards have interacted with humans. He claims that for centuries, royalty, powerful heads of state, and trusted religious leaders found the world to have kept a secret pact with malevolent lizards. World leaders would receive valuable resources buried deep within the planet, such as gemstones, gold, and other minerals. And in exchange, these leaders would conceal all evidence of the Vril from the surface population, so no one would learn of their existence, in addition to helping them hide. Vril lizards required that they be provided with a steady supply of humans to consume. However, Marshall says that keeping the secret of the Vril not only refers to hiding the lizards and denying their existence, but also refers to an even bigger secret, being a parasitic race. Vril lizards have the unique biological ability to invade the human body, take over the brain, and by accessing their memories, they can look and act and seem human in every way. After a period of recovery, the human is able to return to its normal activities, except the brain is now under the complete control of the Vril parasite. Much like the 1956 sci-fi classic The Invasion of the Body Snatchers, in which the inhabitants of a small California town are replaced one by one with identical copies of themselves, Marshall warns us that we've already been invaded, we just don't know it. Marshall explains that Vril lizards are essentially parasites, and like all parasites have a biological drive to invade, dominate, and take over. Marshall refers to this biological takeover as body snatching and explains that the human victim dies once the Vril lizard takes over. Marshall says that the help of the Illuminati body-snatching Vril lizards have infiltrated all levels of society and hold positions of power all over the world. This is done in order to remove key people and replace them with Vril hosts. Marshall states that Vril hosts can be found everywhere, in all levels of government, business, banking, military, law enforcement, journalism, media, and entertainment. Just how is this body-snatching process accomplished? According to Marshall, Vril lizards have a natural proboscis at the top of their head from which they eject a type of thick cerebrospinal fluid. When this fluid enters the human, usually through the eye and from there to the brain, a chemical transformation immediately takes place. The victim essentially dies, leaving the lizard parasite in complete control of all brain function. After a period of recovery, the Vril host can return to its regular activities, looking, acting, and seeming completely normal. What were you gonna say?
This reminds me of Attack on Titan.
Does it?
Yeah, but I don't want to spoil Attack on Titan, so I'm not going to say anything.
Marshall reports that the Illuminati even hold a special body snatching ceremony to celebrate this Vril lizard takeover. Guests watch as the victim, conscious through usually bound, is restrained and forced to sit until the lizard transfer is complete. Marshall explains that to have seen this sick body snatching ceremony many times. Marshall claims that the Illuminati body snatch many people in every country all over the world. They sometimes choose victims from incarcerated prisoners or longtime patients in hospitals and medical facilities. Anywhere they have easy access to people, they will body snatch and replace them with a Vril host. Anyone can be body snatched, and according to Marshall, he's even seen this done to young children. Furthermore, Marshall claims that all loyal families within the Illuminati are expected to offer one of their children to be replaced by a Vril host. They comply since there is unspoken threat that they should be proved to be difficult. They can be body snatched at any time. Marshall says that he even has seen body snatching done with just a couple of guys holding down one while the victim is screaming. No ceremony required. According to Marshall, the Illuminati utilize this unique parasitic ability of the lizards to further their own dark agenda. They're able to remove those resistant to their goals without anyone even noticing. And with Vril body snatching, the troublesome person is now replaced with an Illuminati spy, infinitely loyal and willing to report back everything they see and hear. It is crucial to understand the Vril lizard psychology, since Marshall maintains that all Vril lizards want to be human. They admire human intelligence and the beautiful human form. They want to crawl out from the deep underground into the light and walk unnoticed among the humanity. However, they are not human and have no capacity to feel human emotions. In fact, as malevolent lizards, they enjoy causing pain and suffering. Marshall reveals that Vril hosts are responsible for much of the senseless crimes and spree killings that occur. However, Vril hosts are excellent mimics and make convincing humans, and since there's no way to detect the presence of a Vril host except with an MRI scan of the brain, most members of the Illuminati pretend to like the lizards and are friendly to Vril hosts, since no one is ever certain if they are talking to a host or human. According to Marshall, prehistoric Vril lizards have been body snatching humans throughout history, even during ancient times. He claims that they are in part responsible for the destruction of the island of Atlantis, where legend tells lived an advanced civilization that existed in the Atlantic Ocean. Marshall reports that the Vril hosts had body snatched and infiltrated their way into positions of power throughout Atlantean culture, where they destroyed themselves with advanced weaponry, causing cataclysmic flooding and earthquakes. Marshall asserts that Vril lizards often infiltrate human societies by targeting individuals in the ruling class, royalty, or priesthood. Once they are in positions of power, Vril lizards attempt to convince the humans to worship them as either gods or demons, something to be feared and obeyed without question. As gods, Vril lizards would demand human sacrifices as a show of loyalty and devotion.
Sometimes I mention the Nephilim or clowns guy.
Yeah.
He got big into demons or parasites.
I wonder if this was the one.
Well, it's definitely part of it. But he was even talking about like other kinds of parasites, the effects that they have on humans, and how like those could, like, all demons could just be parasites. He started talking about it. I haven't listened to that guy in a while, so I don't know if that changed.
It says, as gods, Vril lizards would demand human sacrifices as a show of loyalty and devotion. In these cultures, it was considered an honor to be body snatched and chosen to become a god. People didn't understand the biological nature of the takeover of the brain, and thought it was some kind of mystical or magical transformation. As demons, Vril lizards were feared deeply. Old legends warn travelers against going into certain haunted caves and mountains, and beware when darkness falls. This was a time when demons would creep about, stealing babies and livestock. When Vril lizards would body snatch a victim, the person was later said to be demon possessed, and various means would be attempted to drive the demons out. Many cultures around the world attempt to limit Vril lizard infestation, and Marshall says most at some point start sharpening pointy sticks, for example. The Hopi Indian culture successfully drove off Vril lizards, while the ancient Anasazi Indians of New Mexico were forced to leave behind their elaborate cliff dwellings in order to be relocate far away from nearby Vril-infested caves. Throughout history, the lizards stayed hidden underground in dark caves and tunnels, trying to avoid discovery. Some royal families kept Vril lizards as pets and used them to instill fear in those not showing the proper loyalty to the crown. Some world religious leaders also knew the lizards, had secret alliances with them, and agreed to help them. In the 40s, a secret pact was forged between the Nazis and the lizards, making them mutual allies. Conditions of the pact required directing tremendous resources to assist the Vril lizards, including the building of deep underground military bases worldwide. This would allow the lizards a way to interact directly with humans, in which in turn would permit the passive government-sponsored body snatching so prevalent around the world today. If we can assume that all this is true, that body snatching malevolent lizards have infiltrated human society and are replacing us one by one without raising any alarm, one might ask, wouldn't someone try to tell people and save humanity? According to Marshall, President Ronald Reagan tried to warn the public on numerous occasions from 85 to 88. In an important speech to the United Nations General Assembly on September 21st, 87, at the height of the Star Wars space race with Russia, Reagan mused, "In our obsession with the antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bond. Occasionally think how quickly our differences would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world, and yet I ask, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our people than war and the threat of war?" Marshall states the Illuminati forgave Reagan's comments at first, but when he continued to talk about aliens living among us, they blew his mind and called it Alzheimer's. Marshall encourages us to remember the ultimate Vril lizard agenda, which he claims has remained unchanged for centuries, to infiltrate human society and take over the planet. Marshall warns us to act quickly to spread the news, as anyone can be body snatched, as ending from the invasion of the body snatchers warns us they're already here, you're next.
So yeah, that was terrifying. We were both right, and it's crazy that those two are connected.
Like, I had no idea that the Nazis made a pact with them or whatever, and that they had anything to do with the Nazis, and then you're just like, yeah,
It's just
isn't
all
that a Nazi thing?
well, it's all stuff that it was even before Hitler. Like it was just like shit that was. It was like their mythology. It was German mythology, essentially. That was kind of like really growing and getting popular.
Well, here's the thing. So Germans believe that they were the descendants of Atlantis. So if they went and sought out a group like these lizard beings and found them out and decided to make a pact with them, they wouldn't realize right away that they're being played by the group that destroyed their ancient culture, so to speak, if the Atlanteans were their ancient culture. You know, they would potentially even think that these lizards are their ancient culture.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe because they were body snatching, they were disguised still as some Atlanteans.
Or they're angels.
Maybe.
Well, that's how they view them, maybe. Angels and demons.